In Greece, Riot police have fired tear gas at hundreds of migrants trying to cross the border from Turkey. Turkish officials say 2 migrants were killed and 5 others wounded in the firing. More in this report.
Over 10,000 migrants have been trying to enter Europe since Turkey opened its borders last week amid tensions with Syria. Turkey, which already hosts some 3.7 million Syrian migrants, says it cannot handle another wave of refugees. This was followed by deadly clashes as Greece stopping at least 24,000 migrants from crossing the border from Turkey. Backed by the EU, Athens accuses Ankara of deliberately luring the migrants to cross into Greece. It also rejected Turkish claims that its forces have killed several migrants in the past few days. European Union Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell said the situation at the border is unacceptable. Speaking in Ankara, he promised an additional 170 million euros in aid for vulnerable groups in Syria. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says the migrant crisis could only be resolved if Europe supports its efforts in Syria.
For more on this, we are joined by Dr. Andrea Stoyan Karadeli, analyst from Istanbul, Turkey. Thank you for your time. Now, Dr. Andrea, the UN is pressing Russia and Turkey to immediately find a diplomatic solution to the conflict in northwestern Syria. The presidents of both countries are scheduled to meet today. Do you expect any major developments coming out of this?
Of course, everybody's expecting positive results from today, because what's happening now in Syria and what happened in Idlib in the past few weeks is definitely not in the advantage of any side, of any actor that is involved in the region. Less it is in the advantage of Turkey, whose military is now, in a way, in a great danger in the place where they are, in the the mission places that they are in Syria right now. Of course, Turkey has been the actor that has been stating from the very beginning its role in Syria and the reasoning behind its implication in Syria, and that's defending its own 911 kilometers of border that it has with the country. And therefore, not just the UN, but all the world is waiting for the results from this meeting. And hopefully, if not direct, pragmatic results, but at least the beginning of a further developing dialogue would be the best option. It is important to mention here as well the fact that when European countries, European officials tried to have a dialogue and to propose a dialogue to the Russian president, he stated that he would like to solve this issue together with his dear ally, the Turkish president, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Therefore, we are definitely looking forward to what's going to come up from the meeting that is going to take place today.
The entire world has its eyes on the meeting. Now, moving forward, the EU has rejected what they said is Turkey's use of desperate migrants to pressure its neighbors and strongly backed Greece's border crackdown. How do you see this crisis?
The crisis that it has been developing. It's not something that's happening today, or it has happened in the past days, or it was just triggered by Turkey's step towards opening the borders to the migrants to leave the country. This crisis has been developing in the past years, since 2010, 2011, when those refugees started to come to Turkey. Now, what we have to understand first is the fact that not just one country can hold on its knees all this on its shoulders, all this burden of having so many refugees. We have around 4 million refugees officially, 4 million refugees in Turkey nowadays, and the promises made by the EU, the economic, the material promises that were made by the EU towards helping Turkey to hold on to these refugees, to keep them in the country and to take care of them, have not been fully becoming reality. Just half of the amount of money that were supposed to be paid were paid so far. And of course, Turkey, who is already having a lot of expenses, and it's not just the expenses that it has with the refugees, it's also the fact that Turkey has been investing a lot of money in this defense infrastructure as well, giving its implications in the Syrian war, and not only. We have to work together. There is no point in rejecting rejecting one side story, one side step. But what needs to be done is to come together to a table and sort out this, because this is not Turkey's problem. This is not just the EU's problem. This is everybody's problem nowadays, and it's not the one that has been, developing now, but it has been developing for a long while. And unfortunately, no one has really, except Turkey, has really done anything to help it.
Now, Dr. Andrea, you've rightfully said that it is a developing crisis and a lot has changed over the course of it. Until recently, Iran was openly supporting Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria, but has now adopted a lower profile. It appears that Turkey is attempting to fill this void. What is the situation on ground? Has Iran actually pulled back, or is it a strategic change or a tactical move?
I think Iran has a lot of it on its table right now, bearing in mind the coronavirus crisis that it is facing. A lot of its officials, members of the parliament, have been ill in the past weeks, and the whole crisis is developing. We have to be aware of the fact that Iran is the second country after China that, according to the number of coronavirus cases. So those are the main three actors, and somehow Iran looks like it's kind of, got a step back, but actually I think it's again a strategical move. It's important. The importance Syria has for Iran has not diminished in any way. It's just looking to see what the next step is going to be from the other two actors, and also it's solving its own troubles within the country with the coronavirus situation.